what Fallen Angel is. It's pretty much an overload of inspiration from that magical moment. Hello, I'm Paul van Dyk, and this is the story of Fallen Angel. When I used to do my homework after school, I was always listening to the radio. And because I grew up in East Berlin, I was able to listen to the West Berlin radio stations. I was hooked right away when I heard this sort of the free-spirited kind of music that was actually presented there. And, you know, we taped it with cassette recorders to kind of like play back at parties that we did with friends. That was my first sort of introduction to electronic music in its broader description. I didn't have any studios. I could simply not afford it, you know, because I grew up as a single child with a mom in East Germany. We didn't have any money. So when the wall went down and I was in West Berlin, I bought a second-hand JX1 Roland synthesizer. If you look at this thing, it looks more like a toy. I didn't have a computer. I simply, as I said, I couldn't afford one. So my head, my brain almost became like a sequencer machine. I kind of played around. I had a bass line that I enjoyed, and I kind of looped it in my head. And then I kind of played something along to it. And then with that idea, sort of 3-4 different elements, I then actually went into the studio and played it out and hoped it would sound anyhow good. Well, the whole story about how Fallen Angel came about is actually somewhat weird in a way. It came out in '94, but it was originally kind of like, you know, produced in '93. It was right after I came back from my very first trip to Los Angeles. And as I mentioned before, it's like, you know, I'm a kid from like East Germany. I've never really seen a proper sunset going into the ocean because I've never been anywhere West Coast. So I was there and I came back. I had 2 more studio days left and I just started playing around and suddenly that hook came up. There was like still so much inspiration from seeing my first sunset going down into the ocean. And suddenly that actually is what Fallen Angel is. It's pretty much an overload of inspiration from that magical moment. It was mainly the Juno 60, the Juno 106 and the famous JX1. I had a very tightly compressed 909 bass drum. It was like mainly Roland equipment. And I also have to say, it's like, you know, a lot of the early production elements that I learned was by my first co-producer and engineer, Johnny Klimek, who I pretty much learned everything from. Because I had this clear idea how the music should sound in my head. And I tried to kind of vocalize it and bring it across and tell him it should sound like this. And I made funny noises and he was just looking at me, oh, he's gone mad. The first time I really sort of saw the impact that track has was actually a few years later in '98. I played at Creamfields and I wasn't that known then, so I kind of played like in a sort of afternoon kind of thing. And I played it, the whole place just went absolutely crazy bonkers. And this is when I knew, okay, there is something extremely special about that piece. I think the video of Fallen Angel, I think it was shot in Cancun actually. And there was this big butterfly cage. So they wanted to film those butterflies flying around me. And for that, they put butterfly food in my face. It's a very sticky, stinky, slimy kind of thing. So the butterflies would land in my face. And it was like a pretty disgusting thing. That's what I remember actually from that video shoot more than anything else, to be honest. Well, I think until now, if I'm not playing For an Angel, it's like, people are gonna go home disappointed somehow. It's like there seems to be this ongoing expectation. But I understand, if I go and see Depeche Mode and they don't play Enjoy the Silence, I'm pissed. And because of the equipment that I use on stage, I'm not playing with CD players and USB sticks, I have my computer. The way how I play For an Angel every single time is somehow different, but it probably has been in every single set since I made it. A few consecutive years we'd done our shows in New York at Central Park. There was like 1 year the weather was really bad. It was really torrential rains. It was just pouring down heavily. And I played For an Angel, and people just kind of, it was just the ultimate celebration of joy and fun and excitement. And obviously because I was on stage, I was almost dry while everyone else got totally soaked. I saw that, and it's still to me one of those, I don't know, it's like a positive earthquake that happened that you will always remember in your life. And yeah, that will definitely always stand out. I remember once I was called the leader of the trance nation. I said, I don't want to be the leader of anything. It's like, I'm a musician. My favorite music is electronic music, and that's what I do. And if people like it, I'm the happiest in the world, but I wouldn't change a thing about my music. Being one of the residents at the famous Gatecrasher Club in Sheffield, just an amazing time. And I'm just very, very happy. It's like going back to the beginning of the 90s. The music we wanted to hear did not really exist. We had to make it. I haven't been able as an artist to give my little bit into what became probably the biggest music culture in the world afterwards. So of course, it's 30 years of For an Angel, and we celebrate with a very special release package. There are many remixes that nobody really has ever heard, from the past, throughout the time. Also some brand new remixes, a big celebration package for the people who either enjoyed it throughout the years. To so many people, it became a part of their, let's say, audible life. It's been a very good track to me, and I'm really looking forward to the celebration.